My father, 64, is a nightmare and gave me and my wife the worst Thanksgiving of our lives. I can trace pretty much every one of my psychological issues to verbal and physical abuse I received from my father as a child. And my mom has been with him so long that she's so beat down she refuses to acknowledge it. He's never hit her, but he's an asshole to her, my sister, and most of the extended family. We drove down to their house on Thanksgiving. He immediately walked out without a mask, saw us in mask, and said, "You got face diapers on." I said, "Yes, we do." He went on about how we're not afraid of the Rona. We walked into the backyard. My mom came out. We're all happily conversating while my son tottered around. My dad comes out of the back door without a mask. My wife, with the slightest of tones, said, "Where's your mask?" He immediately blew up and said something along the lines of, "Fuck you, don't tell me to wear a mask in my own fucking house," and stormed back inside. Again, this was in front of his toddler grandson. My dad has yelled and swore at me more times than I can count. But this time, something broke inside my head and I knew I couldn't do this anymore. We walked around the backyard with my mom and son. My mom kept pretty much making excuses for my dad. Stuff about how he's having a hard time with his job, my sister ran off, etc. My dad leans back out the back door to yell, "You weren't wearing masks with those people out in fucking New Mexico," blah blah blah, more bullshit. We spent the last week in Phoenix, not New Mexico, with some friends, and all of us had isolated for 2 weeks prior to that in order to be safe. Meanwhile, we knew my parents had gone out to eat at a restaurant this same day. But no, it's because we love our friends and don't care about my parents. I kept telling my mom, I can't do this anymore. This has been my entire life. She wanted to agree, but in the end, she's always going to take my dad's side because it's less exhausting. There was some conversation back and forth. Don't feel like recounting it all. Needless to say, we left. After we left, we had to pull over and text both my parents. My wife told my dad if he didn't cut this abuse out, he would not see his son or his grandson. He replied, "Your opinion is noted and discarded." I texted my mom about this. She replied by guilting me about not coming down to see her when she has a gallbladder surgery last year. The reason I didn't go was because my dad told me not to. He also spent her whole hospital stay complaining about how much it would cost. I replied to that. I also texted my dad and said until he apologizes, he would not see me, and he would not see his grandson. I will not have him yelling and swearing at me in front of my son. I have never confronted my dad like this in my life that I can remember. I could go on for pages and pages of backstory, but I don't want to waste everyone's day. At the moment, I feel I'd be fine if I never saw or spoke to my father ever again. My mom needs to get out of there, so she can remember what it's like to not live with his toxicity. No one I have spoken to has agreed with cutting him out completely forever, and I'm likely to calm down on this, but it's very hard. I guess I'm asking for advice on how to move forward with my mom and dad, because at the moment, it feels like it's dead. And with Christmas coming up, I can't imagine it will feel any better anytime soon. Thank you for reading this far. Cheers. Do I risk harming my friendship with my best friend / housemate when I don't re-sign the lease? I moved into a house with my best friend, 22 male, and another friend, 21 female, earlier this year, while we were all at uni. We were really excited for it, and being good friends, we were keen to have a happy family of a share house. I moved in a week after signing the lease, and was then told by my housemates that they were in a committed relationship with each other. I had no idea about this, and was shocked to say the least. Upon my prodding, they basically fessed up to not telling me before signing the lease because they didn't want me to bail out, just as we were finally securing a house. Needless to say, I was decently mad, and none of my other friends thought my housemates' actions were right. Since then, we've tried to make it work. To my housemates' credit, they've often been good. They follow all their chore duties, often talk to me, and even try to include me in their activities. Yet the overall dynamic of living with a committed couple doesn't really work for me. At the end of the day, you're third wheel. More so, heaps of my friends' coupley antics are really ostentatious and done in communal spaces. No matter how much I politely ask that they keep their stuff for the bedroom. This is taken to the extreme for my female housemate. She loudly calls out for her boyfriend and my best friend around the house, "Baby, Bubba, my love," and ends up having intimate moments with him on our living room couch. There's nothing wrong with doing this stuff, but there is if you do it in front of people, and it's not a situation I want to be a part of. I've decided I won't renew my lease, but I'm scared it's going to harm my friendship with my best friend. After my housemate's antics, I don't give a fuck about the friendship with the other housemate. I think that one's already gone, but would like to keep the friendship with my best friend intact. He is so captivated in his relationship that he doesn't seem to realize how wrong everything is, and has told me how he's excited for all of us next year, and how he's so happy to have the best house. He's assuming I'm going to resign. Do you guys reckon it's possible for me to leave but keep our friendship strong? Would we be forever damaged? I need to leave this house, but I'm not sure I can have my cake and eat it too. Any advice? Much appreciated. My wife wants to stop couples therapy after 3 sessions. Our marriage is really unhealthy right now and I don't know what else to do. We've been together for 9 years, married for 1. This is our 3rd shot at couples counseling. My wife found our 2 previous attempts very painful, and we stopped both times at her request. The first time was a couple session in our first year of dating. Second was a couple months 3 years ago. We've had a rough first year of marriage. We experienced cycles of some conflict getting out of hand. Things would be okay for a few weeks. Then from my perspective, it feels like she's become a totally different person. She gets extremely upset very quickly. We're usually unable to de-escalate before she starts threatening to hurt herself, screaming at me, and calling me names. There's a couple of examples in my post history. After a particularly bad fight a few months ago, she agreed to get back into couples therapy. We're both already in individual therapy. We've done 3 sessions so far and she's finding it extremely difficult. No matter how I try to word it, it feels like anytime I try to bring up pain I felt in response to something she did or said, she takes it extremely personally. She'll spiral into saying she's the worst partner ever, she's a horrible person, says that I'm saying she's a terrible wife, etc. She told me today that she's not mentally healthy enough to be in couples therapy, and this is the worst she's ever felt. I asked if she had a sense for when she might be able to give it another shot, and whether she could work in her individual therapy to understand what she needs, to get to a place where we can do this together. She got upset and said she already has a long list of things she needs to work through in individual therapy. I'm at a loss. I love this woman and I want to be with her for the rest of my life, but I feel like I'm losing myself in this marriage when I'm constantly walking on eggshells and can't bring up that I'm in pain. We're working so hard to be better for each other. I'm struggling to see a path forward without some external support. I don't know what to do if she's not ready to do that work and doesn't know when she will be. Should I give her an ultimatum? Do I just wait it out? How do I, 20 female, break up with my boyfriend, 19 male? We've been dating for 1.5 years, and we're best friends previously a year before. For context, he's my first boyfriend, first love, basically first everything. I love him so dearly. The thing is, I don't know if I am, or will be romantically attached to him in the future. He realized he was bisexual in the beginning of our relationship, which I initially had 0 problems with, but since then, he's been wanting to explore himself. About a year into the relationship, he realized he really liked a certain women's clothing and femboy things, and realized he wanted to be more non-binary. Doesn't mind either he or she pronouns, and I can respect that. Now he's growing out his hair, wanting to paint his nails, shave the hair off his body, and overall just change his looks to look a lot more feminine than what he looked like when I first fell in love with him. His personality has also changed a bit, and it's made me a little uneasy. The thing is, I'm pretty sure I'm a heteromantic. I never really thought much about my sexuality before, because I initially thought I was asexual, and wasn't interested in a romantic relationship before I met my boyfriend. I just know that romantically and in general, I am more attracted to masculine aligned features and personality. When we first started dating, he was more feminine than other guys, but still had a much more masculine alignment. He wasn't really interested in being more feminine until a few months ago. The problem is, I really love him dearly. The reasons I want to break up is I don't think I can love him how he deserves, because I don't think I can accept who he's becoming as a romantic partner, and I don't want to hold him back. However, I'm really scared to break up because he's really sweet and loves me dearly, and I really don't want to lose him in my life. I don't think it'll be possible for us to be friends either though. I want to make the relationship work, but I don't think I can get over my feelings about who he's becoming. I fear one day I'll look at him and see a different person. He's aware how I feel about him coming like this, but not to its full extent, because I don't want him to feel bad about changing who he is, just because it makes me uncomfortable. If there's any advice on how to make this work, I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, how do I learn to let it go? Suspicious of a long-distance girlfriend cheating. I, 23 male, met my GF, 26 female about 2 years ago, online through a video game that we both play. We decided to meet in person just over 1 year ago, and both agreed that we would start a long-distance relationship. Since then, we both stayed with each other every couple of months for a few weeks, when possible, and we both met each other's families. Until recently, I'd never had any trust issues or suspicions. However, there have been a few red flags. When we first began talking, she told me she was also the same age as me, at the time 21. But 2 weeks before we agreed to meet, she broke down crying to me that she had lied and finally told me her real age. I didn't have a massive problem with this at the time, as the age gap isn't that big, and I could understand wanting to fit in with a slightly younger group of people that we played with. Looking back, perhaps I should have been more concerned about this. Before I met my GF, she used to play another game, which she told me that she used to play with her ex-BF who was also long distance. Her relationship with her ex ended after she found out he was cheating on her. For the first 6 months we were together, she would often talk about how horrible it made her feel, and she hopes I would never do anything like that to her. However, after reassuring her multiple times, this stopped. Roughly 2 months ago, my girlfriend started to play this game again, after not playing for 3 years since breaking up with her ex. I felt a bit confused by this, as she stated she had a lot of bad memories linked to the game, and that she would never play it again, but I didn't think much of it. A week or so, my girlfriend told me she had been talking to a guy in the game, and had been invited to join a Facebook group with him and his friends. I'm not a jealous person, so again, I wasn't bothered. However, she then told me she made a fake Facebook account to join the group. This started my initial suspicions, as I found this a strange thing to do, and it links back to her lying to me right at the beginning about her age. Admittedly, I did start to overthink the entire situation at this time. What if she was playing with her ex? What does she need to hide? I decided I would be open to her about my feelings, but I made sure never to accuse her of anything. Her response was she just didn't want to reveal her true identity, as people might recognize her from when she played with her ex. This was enough to reassure me, and I apologized for not trusting her. The next time we met, everything was going well. This was until she started taking a shower. I noticed a message pop up on her phone. I took a quick look and saw another guy message her, "Good morning, heart." I immediately began to panic, and maybe stupidly decided I'd take a look at her messages. I found that my girlfriend had been regularly talking to this guy, sometimes even calling him 3 to 4 hours in the evening, occasionally just after I had been speaking with her, and we both said we were going to bed. I didn't see any messages that were worrying or sexual, but she has been hiding this very well. After she finished her shower, I confronted her about the message from the guy, but never told her I looked at the messages. Her initial reaction was strange. She just stared at me. I then asked if she had been calling and talking to him. She told me that she had only talked to him once for an hour. This was obviously a lie, but I never told her I knew that. She then broke down crying and asked if I still wanted to be with her. We talked about a relationship, and I told her I still wanted to be with her. We also agreed that we would move closer to each other in the next few months. Moving on a few months, everything has been fine between us. But I noticed in the last 2 weeks, she's been making her status appear offline on all social apps, Facebook and Discord, possibly to hide again or on other accounts. She's also been more distant by regularly not replying to messages for an hour or two. At times of the day she isn't busy, and not calling for a couple of days, which is not usual. Today, I decided I would look at her Snapchat score to see if she's been using it when she claims she doesn't. By pure chance, she sent a revealing photo soon after looking, and I noticed the score went up by 2. My understanding is that it only goes up by 1 after sending a photo. My gut feeling is that she sent that same photo to someone else. I have no way of proving this, and I know if I confront her directly again, it will probably be the last time. Am I just paranoid and overthinking again? Do other people agree that something else is going on? Sorry for the long post. She's definitely cheating, and I'm just gonna quote a line from BoJack Horseman. When you're wearing rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags. If you haven't yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more great content every other day. I feel like I'm raising my boyfriend. A bit of a stress reliever, but I'm also open to advice. My boyfriend and I met in the beginning years of college. He comes from a well-off family, and said he never had to do chores growing up because he had a maid, and his parents wanted him to focus on school. His mom is a stay-at-home mom, but has let me know she doesn't really cook, and the family mostly went out or ordered in. For context, I grew up in a similar situation, but my mom was more hands-on and we didn't have a maid. Fast forward to when I met my boyfriend. He's incredibly kind and intelligent, and all around amazing. It started off with just small things. I would have to teach him some basic manners. Thank you cards, being on time, how to set a table, etc. Nothing crazy. Years later, we moved in together, and I feel like everything just hit the fan. He doesn't know how to clean, cook, or do any kind of functional life skill. It is almost like he is shocked when I asked him to do something like unload the dishwasher. He would just leave his dishes everywhere, and it felt like he would almost wait for me to come pick him up. He asked for help on how to do almost every activity. We lived in dorms in college, so I wasn't privy to how bad it was until years later. He honestly just doesn't attempt to do any chores, and will hang out after work on his computer. We both work full-time jobs, but I seem to be his mother cleaning up after everything. I ask him to put things away, and he says he will. But next morning, I wake up with food on the counter. I now have this deep resentment inside. This week, we did get to see his parents. and I saw how they interacted with him, treating him like the golden child and caretaking his every need. His dad is mostly absent as he's still working, but his mom does everything but wipe his chin after eating. I now feel extremely conflicted because I started to resent my boyfriend for all the extra housework I do. But now I'm wondering if he even had a shot with the household he grew up in. I feel like I have this deep burden to raise my boyfriend and to teach him all these life skills. And I know that some of my friends feel the same with their coddled boyfriends. I now feel some resentment directed to his parents, but I still don't think that's fair considering he's an adult now. The next story was supposed to be boyfriend admitted he masturbated next to his sleeping mom years ago, but it looks like OP deleted it. So I can't give you that story, and I'm sorry, I was really interested to hear it. Anyways, have a great day, and make sure to check out my other videos if you're interested.